The hidden wound in the human psyche. Host, Dr. Jung. Today, we are addressing a theme that burdens countless people, the painful memories of their past. To begin simply, why does the past continue to control so many of us? Carl Jung. Because what is not integrated is never truly past. Painful memories are not dead events. They are alive within the unconscious, operating autonomously, influencing feelings, relationships, even bodily health, without our awareness. Host. So our history becomes our present. Carl Jung. Indeed, what you repress becomes your fate. Those memories, those wounds, they do not vanish. They become part of your shadow. What happens when you repress painful memories? Host. What happens psychologically when someone represses a painful memory? Carl Jung. Repression is an attempt to protect the ego from psychic overwhelm. When an experience is too emotionally charged, trauma, humiliation, betrayal, the conscious mind pushes it into the unconscious, believing this will neutralize its power. Host. But it doesn't. Carl Jung. No. In the unconscious, the repressed content does not lie dormant. It behaves like a complex and autonomous fragment of personality, possessing its own aims, its own emotions. It continues to affect the individual, but indirectly. Host. How does this manifest in life? Carl Jung. In projections, compulsive behaviors, unexplained anxieties, and recurring life patterns. The person may find themselves repeatedly entering situations that mirror the original trauma, without understanding why. The complex, the psychic entity you ignore. Host. You've mentioned complexes. Could you elaborate? Carl Jung. A complex is a cluster of emotionally charged associations and memories, often revolving around a central theme such as abandonment, humiliation, or rejection. It is like a splinter personality within you. Host. So our painful memories form these complexes. Carl Jung. Exactly. These memories, left unintegrated, form the nucleus of a complex. This complex then influences your emotional reactions, thoughts, and even physical sensations without your conscious consent. Host. Is this why people feel out of control sometimes? Carl Jung. Yes. When a complex is activated, it temporarily seizes control. One might say or do things they later regret. That is not weakness. It is the complex acting. The unconscious does not forget this. Is it true that the unconscious forgets nothing? Carl Jung. Absolutely true. The unconscious records every experience, every emotion. Nothing is lost. While the ego may forget, the unconscious retains it. Host. So when someone says they've moved on but they've never processed a memory, they haven't really moved on. Carl Jung. Precisely. They have only shifted the memory to the depths, where it continues to operate silently. Painful memories as the shadow self. Host. How are painful memories connected to your concept of the shadow? Carl Jung. The shadow is comprised of everything you refuse to acknowledge about yourself. This includes not only what you consider negative anger, envy, but also your painful memories. You reject them as not me. Host. So painful memories become part of the shadow. Carl Jung. Yes. And as long as you avoid confronting the shadow, these memories remain unhealed. You must face what you rejected to retrieve what you lost. Why avoidance does not work? Host. Many people avoid thinking about the past. Why is avoidance ineffective? Carl Jung. Avoidance is a form of unconscious worship. That which you avoid holds power over you. By refusing to confront painful memories, you feed their influence. They continue to shape your life precisely because they are ignored. Host. Then confronting pain is necessary. Carl Jung. It is the first and most essential step in healing. Active imagination, a direct dialogue with your past. Host. Let's discuss your technique of active imagination. How can it help in healing painful memories? Carl Jung. Active imagination bridges the conscious mind with the unconscious. In this practice, one visualizes the painful memory not as a dead event, but as a living image. Then, you converse with it. Host. How does this look in practice? Carl Jung. Find a quiet space. Visualize the memory in vivid detail. Instead of passively watching, engage it. Speak to the image. Ask, why do you still hurt me? What do you need from me? And then, listen. Host. The memory responds. Carl Jung. Yes, not in words, perhaps, but in images, feelings, and inner voices. This is the unconscious communicating. Working with dreams. Messages from the unconscious. Can dreams help heal past wounds? Carl Jung. Dreams are the direct expressions of the unconscious mind. Painful memories often appear in dreams, but disguised as symbols. Host. Why disguised? Carl Jung. Because the unconscious does not speak in logic. It uses archetypal images and symbols. By interpreting these symbols, you can uncover what memory or emotion seeks your attention. Host. So analyzing dreams can reveal repressed memories. Carl Jung. Indeed. Dreams are nightly messages, pointing to what consciousness refuses to see. Why? Pain itself holds the key to healing. Host. Why do you often emphasize the necessity of suffering? Carl Jung. Because pain is the guide. The wound is where life enters you. Suffering forces consciousness to turn inward. It is not punishment, but initiation. Host. Initiation into what? Carl Jung. Into deeper layers of the psyche, into the reality of the self. Pain compels you to abandon superficial living and confront your depths. The inner child, the original bearer of the wound host. How does your concept of the inner child fit into this process? Carl Jung, the inner child is the aspect of the psyche that first received the wound. When you revisit painful memories, you are essentially returning to this child within. Host. How does one heal this inner child? Carl Jung, not through logic, but through presence. In active imagination, visualize this child. Offer it what it lacked: safety, acknowledgement, and compassion. Simply by being present to its pain, you begin its healing. Why you must hold your pain? Not explain it away, host. Many people try to rationalize their pain. Does that help? Carl Jung, rationalization is often a defense mechanism. Pain is not cured by intellect. It is cured by holding. Feel your pain. Do not seek to explain it away. What you hold with awareness transforms. Host. So presence itself is healing. Carl Jung. Presence is the alchemy of healing. The process of individuation is memory. Healing. Host. You describe individuation as the central journey of life. Does healing, past memories belong to this process? Carl Jung. Absolutely. Individuation is the integration of all parts of the psyche into wholeness. Painful memories are not obstacles. They are fragments awaiting reintegration. Host. So facing painful memories is not optional? Carl Jung. Not if you seek wholeness. What you avoid remains outside the circle of the self. Symbolic understanding of your past. Host. You advocate interpreting painful events symbolically. Why? Carl Jung. Because literal thinking imprisons you. Symbolic understanding liberates. When you view a painful memory not as a mere event, but as a symbol in your personal myth, you gain perspective and power over it. Host. Pain becomes meaningful. Carl Jung. Yes, every suffering contains a hidden purpose. Finding it is the work of consciousness. Path of conscious suffering. Host. Is conscious suffering different from unconscious suffering? Carl Jung. Radically different. Unconscious suffering is chaos pain without purpose. Conscious suffering is transformation pain illuminated by awareness. In conscious suffering, you participate actively in your healing. Host. So, instead of resisting, we observe. Carl Jung. Observe, feel, and integrate. Host. For those listening now, burdened by painful memories, what is your message? Carl Jung. Do not flee. Turn toward your wound. Greet it. Say to your suffering, you are part of me. I will listen. In that moment, healing begins. Host. Is there hope? Carl Jung. Always. The psyche is self-regulating and self-healing, if only we cooperate with it. The archetype of the wounded one. Host. What is the archetype behind painful memories? Carl Jung. The archetype of the wounded healer. In mythology, the healer is wounded first. This wound gives them the power to heal others. Similarly, your personal pain is not just injury, it is potential. Host. Potential for what? Carl Jung. For transformation. For wisdom. Your wound can become your gateway to the deeper self. Why repetition is a call for healing. Hosts. Why do painful patterns repeat in life? Carl Jung. Because the complex seeks resolution. Pain that is not understood recreates itself in outer life, through relationships and events, as an unconscious attempt to force recognition. Host. So repetition is not punishment. Carl Jung. No, it is a message. Life repeats what you refuse to confront. Host. How does one break the pattern? Carl Jung. By becoming conscious of it. Write your life story. Identify the repetitions, find their origin in the wound. Working with dreams, the nightly therapy. Host. You emphasized dream analysis earlier. Could we go deeper? Carl Jung. Dreams offer nightly therapy from the unconscious. Painful memories, stored as complexes, surface in dreams as symbols. Track your dreams consistently. Each contains a fragment of your healing. Host. But many dreams are disturbing. Carl Jung. And that is good. Disturbance indicates the complex is near consciousness. Welcome disturbing dreams. They are the psyche's attempt at self-repair. Host. How should one analyze a painful dream? Carl Jung. Record it immediately upon waking. Identify the strongest emotions. Examine the symbols, asking, what personal memory do they evoke? What unresolved feeling do they express? Active imagination. Speaking to your pain. Host. Returning to active imagination. Could someone directly visualize a painful memory and heal it? Carl Jung. Indeed. Visualize the event or person associated with your wound. Speak aloud to this image. Ask it why it still hurts. Allow answers to emerge from your unconscious without judgment. Host. Is this imagination or reality? Carl Jung. Both. What occurs in active imagination is real within the psyche. It affects the unconscious as directly as any external event. The danger of identification with the wound. Host. What if someone feels trapped in their pain, unable to see beyond it? Carl Jung. That is identification. They have confused the complex with the self. One must say, this pain is part of me, but it is not all of me. Host. How can someone separate from their pain? Carl Jung. Through conscious observation. When you watch the pain without becoming it, you begin the process of disidentification. The ego reclaims its authority. Pain is sacred alchemy. Host. You describe pain as a sacred process. Can pain really be sacred? Carl Jung? Absolutely. Pain is the prima materia of psychological alchemy. It is the raw substance that must be transformed. Without suffering, there is no initiation. Host initiation into what? Jung into the self, into a state beyond opposites. Pain invites you to transcend who you believed yourself to be. Creative expression as healing host. Does creativity help release painful memories? Carl Jung, greatly. Paint your pain, write your sorrow, sculpt your memory. Artistic expression, inner suffering, allowing the conscious mind to relate to it as something separate. Host, why does this help? Carl Jung, because what remains inside you festers. What is expressed begins to heal. The return to the inner child host. We spoke about the inner child previously. Could you elaborate on its role in healing? Carl Jung, every painful memory was first felt by the inner child. That child still resides within you. Healing requires returning to this child, not as who you are now, but as a loving adult presence. Host, what does the inner child need? Carl Jung, presence, acknowledgement, and the permission to feel. Speak to your child self. Hold its sorrow without seeking to fix it. Being seen is itself healing. Shadow work, the dialogue with darkness host. You often say the shadow contains what we avoid. Could painful memories themselves be parts of the shadow? Carl Jung, yes. Painful memories are shadow material. They have been rejected, disowned. Shadow work means making these memories conscious. Host, how does one begin? Carl Jung, by listing what you avoid remembering. Then gently invite these memories into your awareness. Engage them as teachers, not enemies. Self-compassion, the forgotten medicina. Host, is self-compassion necessary for healing? Carl Jung, without it, healing is impossible. Many treat themselves as enemies, but the psyche heals in the presence of warmth. Speak to yourself as you would to a wounded child. Host, what might one say? Carl Jung, I see your pain, I honor your suffering, you are not alone. Patience, the timeless process of the psyche. Host, why do people get frustrated when healing takes too long? Carl Jung, because they apply the ego's clock to the soul's work. The psyche does not obey time. Healing is circular, spiral, not linear. Host, so patience is required. Carl Jung, patience is the foundation. Each painful memory will surface when you are ready to heal it, not before. How you know you are healing? Host, how can someone know if they are genuinely healing? Carl Jung, there are signs. Emotional triggers lose their intensity, dreams become clearer, self-blame lessens, and perhaps most importantly, you begin to remember without suffering. Host, to remember without suffering. Carl Jung, that is integration. When the memory is no longer charged with pain, but simply a fact of your life, you have healed it. The self, the final healer. Host, does the self ultimately guide the healing process? Carl Jung, yes. The self is the totality of your psyche. The ego cannot heal itself, fully it must surrender to the larger wisdom of the self. Host, how does one connect with the self? Carl Jung, by silence. By paying attention to dreams, symbols, and synchronistic events. By trusting inner images more than outer opinions. Healing as a service to other shows. Is personal healing selfish? Carl Jung, not at all. When you heal, you contribute to the collective unconscious. You lessen the inherited burden for future generations. Your healing is a gift to the world. The inevitability of the wound. Host, why do humans suffer? Why do we all carry wounds? Carl Jung, because suffering is intrinsic to human development. Without the wound, the personality remains superficial. The wound forces depth. Host, so suffering is not failure. Carl Jung, it is the initiation, a final messagist for those burdened by unbearable memories. What is your last word? Carl Jung, turn toward your wound. Trust your darkness. The wound you carry is not there to break you, it is there to open you. Host, is there truly hope? Carl Jung, there is always hope. Your soul longs for wholeness, and healing is the remembering of your wholeness. The journey is within. Host, thank you, Dr. Jung. We've explored archetypes, projection, the self, dream work, the shadow, and the healing of the inner child. Any final reflection? Carl Jung, remember, no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. To heal, you must descend, but in descending, you will find the treasure you seek.